Today is a day filled with perhaps more serious topics. Now, this one, I'm gonna, obviously I always ask to leave likes and shares, but this particular video, given the way it's going to be titled and the subject, is will be suppressed everywhere. So if you can, please, if you use Twitter, share it out on Twitter. If you use Truth, Gab, Getter, Facebook, this is a big story, and it has these weird twists and turns in it that feel like, at least to me, a lot like what happened with Jeffrey. You know, that guy. It was like we had James O'Keefe probably have the biggest bombshell in modern reporting. It was so big that mainstream media was even having a hard time pretending they couldn't see it in exposing internal employees, perhaps doing very bad things at drug companies. And then, like, what, a week later, he's just out? He's gone from his own company? As far as I understand, James O'Keefe is the one that started PV. And there's no really rhyme or reason unless, and I've dug and dug and dug on Twitter, and I've got a couple threads to share with you here that, you know, claim to have inside information and seem like maybe they do. It's so weird to me that this is just happening right out in front of us. It feels like, oh, I didn't complete my thought. It feels like with the Jeffrey thing, right? Like, where a spooky ghost snuck in and disabled the camera, and then he was gone, and everyone was just like, this isn't right. Something clearly happened here. That's what it feels like. I don't know if I'm being incorrect in comparing the two, but you're going to want to grab your cup of coffee, cup of tea, or some hot cocoa as I go through this. Obviously, my company's coffee brand, coffee.com. I would absolutely love if you gave it a try. Promo code TheQuartering to save. Just read the reviews. And by the way, if you've bought from me, please do leave a product review with a picture. Now, forces inside Veritas put James O'Keefe on paid administrative leave, and tomorrow they will vote to fire the organization's founder and CEO. This is like Papa John. James is Veritas. Removing him will destroy the company. This is from Amuse. Update now, a former senior executive from Veritas has contacted me and explained, quote, "You're way off with this. Save yourself before anything comes out." When asked for additional information, he said, "Trust me, wait for it all to come out." Now, I don't really know, you know, so we're going to go through what is known. And if there's something about James that is not known at the time of this recording, obviously I'll update that later. But it just seems so weird. Like, it's right out of left field. There were some reports of him being kind of a tyrant to work for. Okay, not a crime. There's some issues with him and some C-level employees that he fired, including the CFO and then one other one. And now the board brought them back. Was he, like, the only thing I can think of, like, that might justify this is either a huge, like, Me Too thing, which I'm sure that would have been leaked by now, or maybe money, like taking money. These are, like, the only two things that I'm thinking. And obviously, like, Veritas doesn't exist without James. It just doesn't. So the effort is currently underway to oust the company's founder and frontman, James O'Keefe. Reportedly, the board of directors voted to put him on paid administrative leave ahead of Friday, February 10th board meeting, where they plan to fire him for cause. If they do, Veritas will be dead. There's little doubt that the brash young executive may be in over his head running a $25 million nonprofit news organization. But the answer is not to oust him. The answer is to surround him with executives and directors who can help pursue the company's mission. Any director, executive, or employee who is unwilling to support James should simply resign. Ending the company is not the answer. Over the past decade, O'Keefe has grown the nonprofit's revenue by more than 200%, exposed malfeasance at organizations from Acorn to Planned Parenthood to Pfizer. An important feat for a philosophy major from Rutgers. You can see their yearly revenue, $22 million. Wow, man. You start seeing the money. It's like, dang, this is a lot. Like, you think you're doing okay, and then it's like, dang. Despite his impressive track record, forces within the company decided they would be better off without James at the helm. Instead of helping him develop his management and corporate governance skills, a small group of executives and directors rallied among disgruntled employees in an effort to remove him. Reportedly, the effort to oust James began in earnest 4 months ago when Barry Hinckley, him, he has his pronouns in his bio, so that's what everyone's kind of pointing out, was hired as chief strategy officer. Heir to the Hinckley yacht family, Barry ran a failed Senate campaign from Rhode Island and was CEO of a failed tech startup that called itself the Airbnb of private house parties. Things came to a head when James reportedly fired Hinckley. In response, Hinckley wrote an email to all 65 employees claiming that he had stood up to a bully and lost his job as a result. Next, he convinced 16 other employees to sign a letter declaring, among other things, that he was a power-drunk tyrant, which was sent to the company's board of directors in an effort to oust him. What's interesting to me is, like, man, the lesson here is if you ever build something, never have a board of directors. Like, I can't imagine being ousted from your own company. It's such a weird thing. According to various employees, Barry Hinckley, Matthew Tremont, Tom O'Hara, Daniel Strack were all so-called ringleaders of this effort to remove O'Keefe from the company. Allegedly, they have claimed that he... Now, here's the thing. Okay. Claimed that he misappropriated company funds, incurred outlandish expenses, and violated the company's various HR policies. The misappropriation of company funds is like... See, this is why I never read the articles before, so my reactions are real. Like, that would be the only thing I could see, white collar stuff. Where let's say he was siphoning off millions of dollars to do something else. I mean, of course they're going to oust him, but I guess it's of his own money. It's so weird. The ringleaders organized an intervention where the board spent hours confronting O'Keefe, bringing in multiple employees to share their grievances with the board. Sounds like a struggle session. The overarching argument made to the board was that Veritas will soon collapse entirely as donors and employees flee if he is not removed. Why? That seems crazy. People donate because of James. And of course, if James is removed, donors and employees will also flee. By the end of the meeting, the board voted to put James on paid administrative leave pending a board meeting on Friday, February 10th, tomorrow. Public filings only show that Veritas has 3 directors: John K. Garvey, Colin Sharkey, Matthew Timrand, and presumably O'Keefe and others also on the board. In fact, according to sources, there are many others on the board. What's interesting is, here's another tweet thread from, I thought I had a tweet thread from Swig. Yeah, here. This he put out last night. Thread, the Project Veritas coup. A whistleblower has contacted me about the news that James O'Keefe will be put on leave and stripped of all authority at Project Veritas. This is difficult for me to publish as a staunch supporter of them for years and even a VIP at their events. But what's happening to James is unconscionable. An attempted hostile takeover of Project Veritas needs to be stood against by its supporters. This will not stand. James is a bit of a victim of poor corporate structure, as Veritas has 2 separate organizations, a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, which have very few board members and the majority of the money, and a 501(c)(4), which had significantly more board members but less money. According to my source, the situation has allowed 2 alleged ringleaders to attempt to push James out to have significant sway over others despite their reasons may be essentially meritless. Board members and C-suite officers involved in this, according to my sources below: Matthew Timrand, the ringleader; John Garvey, George Skakel, Joseph Barton, and then Barry Hinckley, he, him. There's another, yeah. The board held a 6.5-hour struggle session with James where they subjected him to constant derision and insults at the instance of Timmerman, O'Hara, and Hinckley. About 10 employees aired their grievances about James, which essentially boiled down to him being a tough boss to work for. At the end of the 6-hour struggle session, Timmerman and fellow board members, John Garvey, put him on leave and stripped him of all authority. It was literally a Stalin-esque kangaroo court trial. The thing that is so very profound to me is that no one seems to grasp. John Garvey and the rest of the board did nothing to stop it. Matt Tierman had it all scripted, all 6 hours. This comes in the immediate aftermath of Veritas' greatest moment ever, exposing corruption at Pfizer, which my source thought was extremely suspicious timing. You boot the founder right after your biggest win of all time. They must explain the situation. My source believes that with enough public support, James could win back support of the 501c4 board, so please retweet and voice your support in a positive way. Look, I don't know, and he finishes with, if James O'Keefe leaves, I will no longer support Project Veritas and will support whichever venture he starts instead. So unless there's something we don't know, I mean, this timing is so weird. It's setting off all sorts of alarm bells, isn't it? If there is some sort of big financial crime, let's just say hypothetically, he siphoned off like $6 million into his own personal offshore bank account, something like that, right? Okay, fine. There's really not much arguing against that. If it's going to be like, well, we didn't like how you spent money, but they're just kind of ginning it up to make it like a bigger deal than it really is so that they can push him out. That's how these kind of corporate takeovers work. I mean, look at that whole thing with Papa John. They mysteriously had him saying the N-word on tape, and it was in the context, he was not calling anyone that. He certainly employed thousands of black people across this country. He had no problem with black people from what I saw, or what was publicly out there. But, it's like once the board wants you out, these people are powerful. They have tons of money, and it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. A lot of people are unfollowing Veritas in support. I mean, I'm going to have to wait to see. I mean, this is so disheartening at a time when stupid content creator drama is going on. And now, again, on the heels of perhaps their biggest expose ever, the company seems to be imploding. I'm going to be really interested to hear what you say in the comment section down below. Please do, of course, check out coffeebrandcoffee.com. And don't forget to share this video everywhere. I support James O'Keefe. The publicly available information out there does not seem to be, support ousting him from his own company. So I'm going to keep reporting on this. So make sure you subscribe down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.